You ever have one of those moments where you realize the so-called American dream can turn into a nightmare with one screech right in your own front yard? That's how my story started. One minute, I'm outside minding my own business, giving the old RV a polish just the way my wife Sarah liked it before she passed. The next minute, bam! A voice like nails on a chalkboard slicing through a perfectly peaceful Saturday. I don't know what kind of nomadic savagery you practice, but you will not park your ghetto trailer in front of my house. Yeah, that happened. I remember freezing for a second, cloth in hand, squinting through the morning haze. There she stood, Janice, late 50s, skin like overcooked turkey bacon from too many poolside afternoons. Hair yanked back so tight you'd think she was prepping for a wind tunnel test, and dressed head to toe in yoga gear like she was on a covert op for Lululemon. She jabbed her finger at the RV, sneering, "That thing's an eyesore. It's lowering my property value every second it sits here. I want it gone now." Now listen, my RV was parked on my oversized driveway, perfectly legal, every line, every permit, every HOA rule checked and double-checked. But Janice didn't care about rules, only about appearances. That RV wasn't just a vehicle, it was the last big project Sarah and I did together before cancer took her. So I stared at Janice, stone-faced, not giving her the satisfaction of a single word. Let me tell you, nothing drives these HOA queen bees crazier than silence. It's like holding up a mirror to their tantrums. She started rattling off about being the chair of the neighborhood aesthetics committee, barking out standards and how me and my monstrosity didn't measure up. She went red, let out this kettle whistle hiss, spun on her heel, and stomped back to her beige palace across the street. And just as I let out a sigh of relief, thinking that was the end, nope, that was just the opening act. Next thing I know, her massive luxury SUV comes roaring out of her driveway, tires screeching like she's in a Fast and Furious sequel for soccer moms. She cranks the wheel, doesn't even look, and slams right through my custom mailbox and Sarah's beloved rose trellis, the one she spent years perfecting, full of angel's kiss roses she used to baby like our own kids. Janice barrels down the street, leaving crushed petals and twisted metal behind like a warning. I just stood there polishing cloth, still in hand, jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth would crack. In that moment, something old and cold woke up in me, the part of me that hadn't stirred since I retired from the courtroom. Janice thought she was just messing with a retired nobody. She had no clue I used to take down corporate giants before breakfast, or that I'd written the book on tort law that half the lawyers in the state used to pass the bar. But first things first, I did what years in law taught me: lock down evidence. Didn't call the police just yet because in towns like ours, a missing mailbox usually gets you a shrug. No, I needed ironclad proof. So I went inside, grabbed my pro camera, snapped pictures from every angle, tire tracks, paint transfers, crushed pedals, you name it. And then, thank you, Sarah, I pulled the 4K security footage off the RV's motion-activated cameras. The whole show, her screaming the slurs, the deliberate swerve, her glee in the rear view. Slam dunk. Backed up my files to 3 clouds thumb drive, the whole 9 yards. Only then did I call the non-emergency line, calm as a saint. While I waited, I ran Janice's name through the county portal, just habit. Found out her brother was a lawyer too, one of those personal injury types with a billboard by the interstate. The plot, as they say, thickened. Cops showed up. One actually looked like he'd barely graduated high school. He asked about the mailbox, rolling his eyes. But when I sat him down and played him that 4K video, his jaw hit the table. Suddenly I was the victim of a crime, not just the weird RV guy. He took a full report, gave me a case number, promised the DA would love the footage. Janice's brother showed up not long after, all slick hair, orange tan suit, just a little too tight. Janice, now in a garden party dress, stood smirking behind him. He held out a hand, said he was here to clear up this little misunderstanding. I didn't shake it. He handed me a settlement drop, all charges, hand over the video, and he'd pay me $1. Oh, and I'd have to sign over the RV to Janice for that same dollar. I actually laughed. You want me to pay you to take my property after you destroyed my other property? I asked. His grin wavered. He started puffing out his chest, threatening lawsuits, promising to bury me in court costs. I let him bluster. Then I switched gears, let him see the courtroom killer behind the retiree mask, tore his contract apart, clause by clause pointed out the extortion, the duress, the amateur mistakes that would make any first-year law student blush. I let him sweat, then dropped the hammer. This isn't a settlement offer, it's evidence. You just made yourself Exhibit A. His mask cracked. Janice's smirk died, and they bolted like roaches under a light. You'd think that would be the end. Not with this family. Next came the official-looking HOA letter signed by Janice, citing some made-up recreational vehicle violation. Then a cease and desist from her brother's firm, accusing me of harassment and claiming my RV was a drug lab. It was laughable. I wrote back to the HOA, quoting chapter and verse from state law, attached my police report, and warned any more harassment would land them in court personally. But I went on offense, dug through Rick's case history, found he'd botched an old insurance case for a lady named Maria. Lost her house, her future. I paid her a visit, listened to her story, told her I'd take her malpractice case for free. When Rick found out, the panic in his voice was almost musical. I made him pay Maria every penny she'd lost, plus damages, plus attorney's fees donated to charity. As for Janice, she had to cough up cash for my mailbox, the Roses issue a public apology, and donate to the Anti-Defamation League. That should have been the happily ever after. Right neighborhood harmony restored. I fixed the garden, rebuilt. The mailbox. Felt Sarah's memory coming back to life in every petal. Folks started waving again. But winning isn't always clean. I started noticing a hollow feeling, couldn't shake the wariness. It wasn't just Janice and Rick I'd crushed. The ripple was bigger. One dawn, as I was packing the RV for a trip to the Oregon coast chasing the freedom Sarah and I always talked about, I spotted a strange woman shuffling down the street with a red gas can. At first, panic. Turns out she was a casualty of Rick's legal services. Another life ruined, lost everything, now haunted and haunting my block. I called in a mental health team, got her help. That felt more like justice than any legal victory ever did. But then came the note. Slipped under my wiper, childish crayon, I know what you did, and now I'm coming for you. Smiley face at the bottom. The new war wasn't in the courts. It was in my mind, in the shadows, in the sleepless nights spent watching security cams and jumping at every sound. The threats escalated, a hose with refrigerant snaked into the RV. A silent message. I can reach you. Turns out Janice's daughter Chloe was behind it, burning with a quiet, methodical rage, blaming me for her whole family's downfall. I tried to fight back the only way I knew: more cameras, more locks, hired an old PI to track her down. But it wasn't enough. I realized standing in my fortress that I'd let the battle consume everything Sarah and I built. So I drove the RV one last time up into the mountains, found a quiet spot, and set it ablaze, set myself free. Or tried to. I sold the house, moved into an apartment, became just another old man among strangers. Months later, Chloe knocked on my door, handed me a manuscript. Her side of the story, every detail, every wound. She didn't call me a villain, she called me a force, an avalanche that destroyed everything in its path, her family included. Justice is a fire, she wrote, and it burns everyone. So here I sit in the ashes of victory, wondering where's the line between justice and vengeance. When you fight fire with fire, what's left to come home to? What would you have done if you were in my place? Go ahead, drop your thoughts in the comments. Share your own stories of right, wrong, and everything in between. And if you think justice always leaves you feeling whole, well, let's just say sometimes the scars stick around a lot longer than the villains.